DPA is about to embark on a very important new project. That project is called the Sunlight. Sunlight is a term we use to refer to a program of exposure as a means of seeking justice. In DPA, we have so many cases, especially in the area of child support, where usually the father abandons the mother of his child and the child and disappears. For months and for years, child support will not be paid, and the woman is left to struggle alone, raising a child that was born by the two. This has been a considerable problem for us in DPA. In other parts of the world, you would have a robust child support enforcement agency of the government, which makes sure that parents are held accountable in respect to the cost of raising their children. Children should not become a liability to society. So those who bear children must bear the cost of raising them. So men who impregnate women, either their wives or a girlfriend, and the child is born, such men must be held accountable for the raising of the children. So you don't just disappear. But unfortunately in Nigeria, people have taken advantage of the problems we have with the judiciary. In Nigeria, the courts are very slow to adjudicate controversies. A small case as child support or divorce case could last for years in court. And if care is not taken, throughout the duration of the trial, the woman is left without support for her child. And the man just goes ahead, meets other women, get them pregnant, and the same cycle is repeated. A child is born and abandoned. In DPA, we began to think creatively. We began to think out of the box in terms of what we needed to do to address this menace. And one thing we agreed to do is to use the mechanism of exposure. These defaulting parents don't care about the courts. It's difficult for the courts to get to them. And even when a judgment is obtained against them, it is difficult to enforce these judgments. However, there is one thing we notice that these men don't like. And one thing they don't like, that thing they don't like is exposure. They don't want people to know what they have been doing. They don't want people to know that they fail to support their children. And other women don't know that the man they're dealing with has 3 abandoned children out there. So what we intend to do in DPA is, when we receive a report that you have not paid child support for months, we will send you a letter asking you to respond to the report, to the allegations of default in child support, the allegations that you abandoned your minor children. We'll give you 2 weeks to a month for you to respond. It is time for you to respond, to counter the allegations, to refute the allegations, or offer explanation, or offer justification, either because you said it's not really your child, in which case we will pursue paternity test. If you do not respond to such report, we are going to put the report in the public domain. We're going to put it on a website so that people can look and hear that you have not been paying child support. We want all the women you will meet in the future to know that you abandoned your children and their mother. We want that to be known. So we think that sunshine or exposure is going to be an effective remedy for combating these problems. And the origin of the sunshine concept for us comes from the saying attributed to Justice Brandeis of the United States Supreme Court. That justice said that sunlight is the greatest disinfectant. That bad things, evil things occur in the dark. But when you bring sunlight, evil things run away. So people who abandon their children do not want that to be known. They want to appear in public as honorable men, respectable men, and they want to hide the fact that a child they bore or a child born to them is abandoned somewhere, suffering with its mother. So we want to use sunlight as a disinfectant, because when sunlight comes, evil runs into a dark corner, and we use that sunlight and pursue that evil. We're going to have a register of defaulting parents. We are not stopping just at defaulting parents. We have other category of cases that we want to apply the sunlight program on. People who default orders, they borrow money, they sell fantastic investment scheme, and they take money from people and disappear. They continue to take money from other people because there is no exposure to what they have done in the past. We want to be able to expose the track record of such people. So when someone comes to you and asks you to invest in a scheme you don't understand, you can as well check with DPA register of such cases and see whether there are people who have been defrauded or who are claiming to have been defrauded by the same person. If so, you should know. Likewise, if before you sign a tenancy agreement, let's say you're a tenant, you're about to go into a property, you don't know the sort of landlord you are dealing with, you should be able to know if previous tenants were complaining of abuses by that landlord. At the same time, the landlord may be able to know if this incoming tenant is owing her previous landlord. All we need to do is to begin systematically to compile record of complaints and reports of individual people's activities. We are going to use that sunshine mechanism. I think it is going to be far more effective than trying to sue a person when it will take 5 years for the case to conclude. So you will hear more about this, but I am excited, we're excited in DPA that finally we are going to apply the sunlight mechanism to our cases, to situations, and it will help inform Nigerians, inform the public about your life. Remember that in this country, Nigeria, the most difficult things to have, or the things we lack the most, are integrity and honesty. The implication of that is that we all suspect everybody. You got to suspect everybody. In the eyes of each individual, everyone else is a suspect, is a crook. It increases transaction cost when we deal with each other. It limits public trust and hinders the ability of our society to function effectively. We need to be able to know who you are. We need to be able to look into your antecedents. We need to be able to know if you had repaid the money you borrowed in the past before you can borrow more. Because you've walked up to someone now and said, loan me 200,000, it's an emergency, I will pay you next week. That person should be able to know whether you paid back all those you borrowed from in the past. So it's going to be interesting, and we're looking forward to it. And more will be said about it in the near future. Thank you very much for listening.